A what?
An avocado tree.
You are live.
Oh,
I
wow.
call it.
We're live?
Nice. Hello.
I think.
Maybe. Yeah,
Maybe.
well, there's a notification. My phone ain't been letting me share things right off until afterwards, so go figure. But here we are.
We are live.
We are live in Hortense, Georgia. I'm glad everybody was able to get on here. We're gonna do something a little different, and we're gonna be here kind of for a little while. We're gonna go back and go over some of the fundamentals of this Christian walk, some of the fundamentals of our beliefs and things like that, and just kind of start from the beginning, because there's a lot of people that we get going along with momentum, and we take for granted what other people might not know yet. So we're gonna back it up. We're gonna back it up just a minute and refresh ourselves. Because a lot of times we miss things. It leaks out of us. So we are going to be doing a lot of teaching out of the Bible in the Light of Our Redemption by E.W. Kenyon. Really good stuff. Really, really good stuff. Be okay?
Yeah, I was sharing.
Okay.
I was
Sound works.
trying to get our
Yep.
online congregation from my side.
There you go. Yeah.
Everybody shared out, and hopefully they'll tune in and
Absolutely.
join
And
in with us.
for anybody who doesn't know the drill, feel free to stop us at any time and we can go into something. If you have a question, if you have a comment, those things are totally allowed, because we're more like a Sunday school, and we learn. That's
Yeah.
what we do here.
That's the great thing about this place. I mean, our services, because that's how I describe it to people.
Yeah.
When I'm like, come on, man, it's like a big Sunday school. We don't just sit there and listen to somebody talk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For anybody who doesn't know some of the history of whatever, Brother Andy was talking about me trying to be my daddy and whatnot, and it's true. You try to come into it, because I spent 20 plus years in a children's church room, so I'm used to teaching, kids, whatever. So I know I tend to be overly simplistic on things, but I think that's just how God wired me, and that's okay. A lot of things that we do different. I enjoy the conversational banter. I do better with that. I don't like talking to a stone wall. That's hard for me. So, are there times that the Spirit moves and there is a traditional sermon? Yes. But most of the time, this is how the Spirit uses us. We sit here, me and Andy will talk, or y'all talk, and we go from there. So it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly okay. That's how we roll. So,
Susan, can you move over that way?
you got her gun.
Yeah.
Yeah. About where the tambourine is.
Yeah.
There we go.
A little bit more. A little bit more. Yeah, there you go. All right, you're good. Sorry.
Camera placement, isn't that fun? Alrighty.
Come on.
So here we go. We're going to start in the beginning.
I don't ride on Saturdays.
The reason for creation. Oh, and if anybody needs any paper or whatnot, there's, Susan, you know where the printer paper is. You can grab some, and we'll scrounge around for something to write with. Kids got color pencils and everything. So if you want to set some of that on the altar right there in case anybody wants it, or hand it out, that's fine, because we're going to be pinging. Kenyon likes to ping everywhere. Okay? You have been warned.
The reasons for creation.
The reason for creation. Singular. Man is confronted with an unexplained creation of which he himself is a part. Why are we here? What's the purpose? Why do we have this great world? Why do we have all this that I'm part of? What's the purpose? This creation and the iron hand of fixed laws that govern it reveal to man a master designer. You look around and you can't help but see that this had to be created by something more than ourselves. By that we mean that the Creator designed creation that it might fulfill a certain purpose, the reason for its existence. It was created with a purpose. It didn't just, become some random something that is not really here nor there. No, Earth and the creation all have a purpose. Everything in creation has a purpose. Those millions of galaxies have a purpose.
Yeah.
So we need to understand that. We need to understand what that purpose is and not be prideful about it. But it's pretty cool that,
You think about creation, and you think about, let's just go to the human body. and you got these folks that believe in the primordial ooze that we came from. We
From
oozed-
from goo to you by
from
way of the zoo.
We oozed from the goose. Well, you know, you think about, let's just look at the human, why do we have ears? What sound? Think about it. I mean,
How it travels, how it.
well,
yeah.
not just how it travels, but why do we need to hear the sounds? I mean, look at the complexity of an ear.
Yeah,
Then look at the complexity of an eye that lets you see
yeah,
all these things. Those two things
absolutely.
alone.
Yeah,
That I'm sorry, I don't agree with evolution.
no.
You know, in that aspect,
No.
I just
Stop taking all the bits and pieces of a Rolex and putting them in a bag and shaking it and popping a watch out.
Yeah,
It ain't
it's
gonna
like,
happen
no,
that way.
Doesn't
No,
work.
It don't work that way. It don't work that way.
yeah,
But you was talking about sound. And one of those things that I think about, because, you know, my dad was wildlife, he loved wildlife. I remember, you know, having to write things up as informational pamphlets and things like that about different types of animals. And one of the biggest things we do would be on bats and different things. And he had to focus on the diseases and whatnot. But when you learn about bats, you learn about their echolocation and how they eat so many thousands and millions of mosquitoes in a night and all this stuff.
yeah.
And I remember the echolocation, people are learning how to do that.
Yes.
And that is so neat.
That is
Blind
cool.
people are learning how to make clicks and hear the reverberation, how long it takes to get
Yeah.
back to echolocate what's around them in a room.
I've seen a blind guy ride a
That's
bicycle
cool.
on TV doing that.
Ain't that, I mean, that's so neat to me that
Yeah.
and that triggered that thought with me about sound, how amazing it is that, you know, God created an animal to do that, but now it's able to be applicable to healthcare and science into the human realm. When somebody lacks eyesight or whatever, it can be used for a purpose. I think that's cool. All right, so the purpose in creation. The purpose in creation seems to be to provide a suitable environment for men. That's the easy answer. It seems to be just for a habitat for man. You'll find that everything about creation hinges on man. It's all for man. And I think about, I saw a little video on YouTube, not YouTube, Facebook. A little girl was opening up Christmas presents. And she opens up one present and it's a box of chew toys. She opens up another present and it's a doggy bed. She opens up another present and it's a collar and a leash and all. And then the last present she opens is a picture of her puppy that'll be ready to come to her home in 2 weeks. You know, because the puppy wasn't ready to leave its mama yet. And I think about all the plan and all the preparing and all the stuff you do to get ready to bring an animal into your home. I mean, you don't just go out and get a fish without getting the, you know, the aquarium and the rocks and the feed and the little hidey hole things that they like to get under it. You make a place for it.
Right.
And that's what we see in God creating the earth, in God doing creation. He's making a perfect habitat for the crown and jewel of his creation. So that's what it seems like the purpose is. If we take man out of creation, creation with its resources and its beauty has no reason for existing. What's the point of it all without man?
Right.
Wow, we're that important to God. That's pretty cool. You mean without a man and woman, or mankind we should say, because people like to pervert things. Without mankind, there's really no purpose in the oceans and the mountains. There's no purpose in the stars and in the rain and in plants and in the animals.
The vegetation.
The vegetation. There's no purpose in any of it. For the sun, the stars, any of it. It is all for man.
Remember that show, After Man, or whatever it's called?
I ain't seen that one.
And it was a few years back.
Okay.
And it would show if man was just to vanish off the face of the earth,
Yeah.
what the earth would do, what the growth, the vegetation.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know.
I
yeah,
think I've seen snips of it, but not like the full
yeah.
thing.
And I always thought, I'm like, well, man just vanishes off the face of the earth. That means it's the end of time, basically, and I don't think these things are gonna happen.
No.
But, you know,
So if God created the whole universe as a home for man, if he created all this, billions of galaxies, light still traveling, stars yet to be discovered, you know, tides in the ocean and the moon that pulls it and all the things, if he did that for man, don't you think we have a purpose? Man has a specific purpose. If God went through all that trouble to create the animals and the air and the atmosphere just right, we have got to have a purpose. Man in every age of history has sought in vain for this reason, the reason for his own existence. The fact of the matter is, apart from God, you'll never know the reason for your existence. It's going to be a vain search. You can try to fill it in with anything else, but evolution doesn't give you a reason for your existence. Atheistic views doesn't give you a reason for your existence. An agnostic view, basically that there is a God and he don't care, doesn't give you a reason for your existence. So skepticism was born because man was unable to find a reason for creation. Yep. I can't find a reason, so there must not be one.
why are we here?
Now, I'm skeptical.
You know, if you really want to hear a testimony, look up Howard Storm on the internet, because he was an atheist.
That's that one, yes.
And he has, and look here, he wasn't just some uneducated man. He was a professor at a large university.
Yeah. What was it called?
His name is Howard Storm. Just look him up on the YouTube and type in Howard Storm's testimony or something.
Storm?
Storm. It's
Think it is.
STORM, I believe.
Okay.
But it is awesome.
It is. Yeah, I've listened to that.
So the first tendency of science, because they're skeptical, because I haven't found the reason in myself, I don't want the plain answer that God has a plan and a purpose for me. I want to come up with something different. So what is science's first impulse? To become atheistic and materialistic. There ain't a God. I can't see him, so he's not there. Well, you can't see the wind either.
Can't
See-
see air.
Can't see air, but it's there, you know. Well, God hasn't spoken to me, so he must not be there. There's 8 billion people on the planet. I haven't spoken with each and every one of them, but I'm pretty sure they're there.
Yep.
You know, the arguments are irrelevant. The materialistic, given only a mechanical explanation of the universe. Just a mechanical, not anything deeper, not anything greater. Just how it form and function. And I shared last night, and I loved it. I shared a little clip from Jimmy Evans. Jimmy Evans, he does do prophecy, but before that, his main ministry was built on marriage. He taught about marriage and how it's supposed to be. When you look up Jimmy Evans, you're either going to find prophecy or you're going to find marriage. That's what I found out.
What is it? He does the marriage
Yeah.
XO.
Yep, conferences,
something
yes. But it was a clip, and he's talking about the greatest gift you'll ever get is a wife, that a man will ever get is a wife, and he starts going into it. And this is a prime example of something hollow without purpose, because throughout history, women have been treated as form and function, and that's it.
That's second class.
As second class. We provide a service for a greater part of humanity, which is the man. Wrong view. God never endorsed that view. You see it throughout the Bible. He doesn't stand behind that mess. But that's just one example. Science without God does the same thing in light of the whole creation. It's going to give you a hollow experience. It's going to give you a hollow explanation of why everything is here. It might come up with one, but it ain't gonna be the best one. So today, as scientists are delving more fully into the mysteries and wonders of creation, many of them have become God conscious. It's kind of hard not to. I watch all kinds of stuff, y'all, so just bear with me. I'm trying to think if it was on Expelled or if it was the Case for Christ documentary. There was a leading scientist guy, and he was an atheist. But it's come back around to that the most likely scenario is that the little green men planted us here. Instead, I won't acknowledge a God, but the aliens came and planted mankind. Because it's just absurd to think that we popped up here out of nothing or that we evolved. That's science. They're stretching, they're becoming aware that there was an architect, a creator, something greater than themselves, and that it's not just all random. But it's kind of sad that they'd rather think of Marvin the Martian putting us here than God.
Ancient aliens.
Earthlings! No, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
but that's the ridiculousness of it all. You like that, didn't you?
I love it.
Okay.
Don't watch History Channel. Don't watch the History Channel because they are.
Yeah,
You know, Mindy, the wisest man that ever lived, Solomon,
yeah,
who wrote Proverbs,
yep.
says in Proverbs 18:22, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor and approval from the Lord.
That's it. That's my favorite Bible verse.
That's my favorite too.
Before I was married, it was fathers provoke not your children to anger.
Well,
But that's a
that was-
whole nother issue.
That was part of the testimony I was giving before church. Was that, you know, and you think about it, maybe if it weren't for you,
She,
if it weren't for you, seriously, you've been my blessing. You
Yes.
helped me. You helped me to
Yeah.
stay in this walk.
Yeah,
that's right.
that's
Yep.
right.
She made
I
it
can
very,
relate, Matthew.
interesting and fun too, Matt.
Oh yeah.
I can relate, man.
Hey, you know, when you work in children's church, you start getting, you know, real creative. Anytime you work with kids, you have to be creative.
I bet Michelle can relate.
Michelle can be very creative.
Yes, I can.
Y'all might could get together and share.
One of the best things that we ever did, I put a bowl of jelly beans on the table in the children's church room. They were the Bean Boozled jelly beans. And we had a talk about temptation, and sometimes you don't really like what you end up getting. Matt came in and downed a handful, and he regretted his life choices
I think I
real
got
quick.
soured milk.
Not everything that looks good is it?
It's like, oh, white ones are my favorite. There's a coconut. Nope, that was soured milk.
That was not coconut.
Oh, nice.
What?
Yeah, yeah.
Hey,
There you
you get creative with it. But anyway, so they've become God conscious. They realize that behind creation is an intelligent creator, but most of the time they don't want to acknowledge who that creator is. So however, science has not been able to find him. You're not going to find him through science. You're not going to be able to find God on the level that will satisfy an explanation just by looking around. Okay? That you can find that there is a God. You can definitely see the evidence of that, but we're talking about finding on the level of an explanation to satisfy those inner questions.
You know, I was talking to somebody not long ago about just this,
Yeah.
and they acknowledge a higher being, but they don't want to acknowledge that it's Jehovah, it's
Yeah.
God, it's, you know, whatever your name for him is, and whatever you do, but he you know, it's there.
Yeah.
But, and I'm like, why don't you accept that it's God, you know, that it is God? And he was like, I don't know, I just can't do it. And I said, is it the fact that you have to submit? Is it the fact that, you know, you've been to church, you understand what, you know, being a Christian is all about? Is it that? And it's like, no, I don't know if it's that or not. You know, don't want to admit it, but honestly, that's what I find.
Oh yeah. We're not going to find him with our sense knowledge or knowledge that we get from our five senses. That you're going to need something more if you want to get into that connection of who he is. So, man's inability to know God is due to the fact that God is a spirit and that man has no contact with him. Man, unless he's born again, unless that spirit is reborn, he ain't going to find God.
Right.
He ain't going to come to that knowledge. He's not, that spirit has to spark in order to get the answers to those questions. Something has to, send out the little shock paddles and on your spirit a little bit for you to even begin to get that inkling.
Right.
In his own spirit nature, man is alienated from God. Why? Because our spirits are dead. And we're going to go into why we are born with our spirits dead. And every contact he has with the universe or reality comes through his central nervous system and his five senses. We get sense knowledge. That's what we can look around and we can tell that there must have been a design, but we cannot know the designer. We can look around and we can tell that something more is out there, but we cannot tap into the more because our spirits are dead. The thing that connects us to God. Before we're saved, our spirits are dead. Alienated. Let's see. Through the five senses, sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell, man has not been able to contact God. Still can't contact him. He's learned a great deal about physical nature, which is indifferent and many times cruel toward human life, but he has not been able to find God personally or his reason for creating man. We're not going to find that in just going out in the field and looking around. You're not going to find that in a history book or a science book or anything like that. You're only going to find that through his word. You're only going to find that through him. By this we can see that man, in himself, in his own means, in his own power, cannot find God. We need to understand that. That's why trying to do things your way with God will never work. It will never work. You don't get to serve him on your terms. You don't get to be obedient on your own terms. That is in fact called disobedience. Let's see. Where am I at? Okay. God must reveal himself to man.
Yep.
And God has done this very thing. He's given a revelation of himself to man. He's done it. He had to give the revelation upon man's level so that man would be able to contact it. We call this revelation knowledge. It is obtained through our recreated spirits from the Word of God. Notice he brought himself down to our level. I guess that's where being in children's ministry has helped me out. It's okay. You just bring it down to their level. I remember teaching children's church, and the funniest thing, people would go back there when I was running children's church, and they would expect a daycare, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I would be teaching the same lessons to the kids that my dad was teaching to their parents. I remember we had one child, and just understand, the things that are important to a kid are not important to you, and that's okay. That's okay. We have one kid that they were learning about sowing and reaping and having faith. Those were the concepts. Having faith, what does it mean to sow for something or to plant expecting something to be a harvest? And lo and behold, she wanted a Wii. They had come out and a Wii. A Nintendo console.
A game system.
A gaming system. That's what she wanted. Oh, okay, well what are you gonna do? Well, I'm gonna pray. Kids don't always have money, which that's just one way of planting a seed. What did she do? Well, I'm gonna do chores without being asked. And because I'm doing this as faith that I'm gonna have my week. I'm gonna clean off a spot by the TV, and I ain't gonna let no clutter get up there because that's where my weed is gonna go. And she was on it. And let me tell you something, a month went by. And out of the blue, we go to get some furniture or something
From a hospice patient.
from a hospice patient, and there's a man there, and he's got 2 gaming systems that he's wanting to sell. And he goes, I want to sell, you know, an Xbox for, I think, like $300 or something like that. And then he wanted to sell his Wii for like $200 or $300. But he said, if you buy the Xbox, I'll give you the Wii. And I looked around because that's what he wanted, an Xbox for Christmas. And it was so exciting because that's how God worked it out. I said, I know exactly who that belongs to. That ain't mine. But it came across the path so it would get to the girl. Just that quick.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, you know, Mom and Daddy got it for me for Christmas. I said, go ask them if they paid a penny for it. You mean, I mean God gave you that. You sowed for it, you believe. So we teach, we just bring it down to their level with a we. Now, does God make a distinction between a we and your mortgage payment? Or a we and groceries? Or a we and that new vehicle that you need? Or a we and a new job? No, because we're His children. Those same principles can apply to us. So don't get upset that He's bringing it to our level. That's what we're called to do, to bring it to other people's levels. That's okay. That's just how it works. So He brought it to our level in His written word. So, the second chapter of 1 Corinthians. Let's see, what that going to be? Because I'm probably going to read it in different translations. 2 Corinthians 2 and 11. I know in here it says in King James, but let's put it in a different.
What'd you say, 2 and 11?
Yep, 1 Corinthians 2, 11. We'll get it right.
1 Corinthians 2 and 11.
Yep, you got it in the New King James?
Yep.
All right, let's see what it says.
You want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay. For what man knows the things of man except the spirit of the man which is in him?
Mm-hmm.
Even so, no one knows the things of God except the Spirit of God.
That's right. So, guess what? Man knows things pertaining to man because they are a man and that part of them is awake and alive and resilient. But the only way we're going to know the things of God is for His Spirit to be alive in us. That's exciting to me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're going to keep on going on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's see. Man, limited in a sense knowledge, just, you know, in and of itself, is unable to know the inner thoughts of a man. We can't even get to the real issue with what holds us back.
Mm-hmm.
There is a veil of flesh that he cannot penetrate with his sense of sight, hearing, or touch. However, a man, by the medium of words, may convey his inner thoughts to another. I'm going to go back to this story because this story to me says so much.
Where are you reading from?
I'm reading out of my Kenyon book right now.
Oh, okay.
He just got done reading a Bible verse. We are going to keep going through verses 12 and 13 in a minute. So I'm going to go back to this. So there's some things that, you know, we're not mind readers, so we don't know what's going on in other people's minds. So unless you tell us, we don't know. And I know I turn my head and things like that. Long story short, I've had 3 eye operations. I only look out of one eye at a time and my eyes get tired. So it's a habit. That makes things fun when I drive at night, y'all. I'm just going to be real. Depth perception really ain't there. So if y'all get stuck behind a Mustang that's waiting for 4 hours, it's because I can't tell how far that car is, okay? So better safe than sorry. Anyway, my husband has also had eye operations. So at night, you know, when we're talking or whatever,
He had 2 of the same operation.
No, he had one. He had one. I've had 3. So I know
Okay.
that one of my eyes crossed, and I get a little self-conscious of it sometimes. It's like, you know. Anyway, so at night we'd be talking and whatnot, and Matt would look at me and he'd cross his eyes. For 10 years I was hurt, heartbroken. I wouldn't say nothing, but I said, he's just being mean. He's picking on me. He knows I'm self-conscious about that fact. And I mean, it festered. I never said anything to him about it. I never asked him any questions about it. I just presumed that he was doing it for this reason. And one day I had it up to here. And I had what we might call a Jimmy fit. The fire, the redhead roots just started coming out. Anyway, why do you do that? Don't you know I'm self-conscious? How can you be so mean to me? And he looked at me with his eye crossed, and he puts on his glasses and the eye uncrosses, and he goes, sweetheart, I had the same operation. I can't control it any more than you can. I had no idea. 10 years of getting angry with my husband over something he couldn't control no more than I could. See, there's things in the depth of the human soul that the only way for us to express is through words, right? Because you don't know if it's bothering, I don't know if I'm bothering Andy unless he says, stab, or whatever else. I mean, let's be real, when the eyes start glazing over, you might have a clue, but we don't know the inner workings. We don't know when someone's in a fix.
Steak knife sticking out of your skull, not magically.
She missed. Anyway, but we don't know these things except we communicate them through words. That's why God gave us language. That's one of the things that sets us apart from creation, is that we have words. And how does God communicate when he comes to our level to express himself, to make himself known? The written word. Through the word. That's right. So now it's all starting to make sense. He's communicating those inward parts of his soul that needs to get out and get to us through his word. It's living. That's his desire to know man. He formulated his inner thoughts and purposes into words, which man can see with his sense of sight and hear read or expounded or explained with his sense of hearing. So now we're going to read 1 Corinthians 2, 12 and 13.
Yeah.
Let's hear that one.
Now we have received not the spirit of the world, but the Spirit who is from God, that we might know the things that have been freely given to us by God. These things we also speak, not in words, which man's wisdom teaches, but which is the Holy Spirit, but what the Holy Spirit teaches, comparing spiritual things with spiritual.
Wow. So God is reaching out to us, just in that, just in the Word. If you have access to the Word, which we're in a day and a time where everybody does, you can hear God's desire for an intimate relationship with you. You can be made aware of it. The Bible is God's revelation to man. And because we have no other channel through which we can know God or contact him, we turn to that revelation to find out what he has told us of his reason for creating man. That's the channel. If you want to know God, get in his word. That is just it. There's no other way. You're not going to find God through a fishing trip. You're not going to
bypass it.
You ain't going to bypass it. You learn that in this walk, there's some things you just don't get around. You just have to do.
I want to say something.
Go for it.
The Bible says, those that seek him early shall find him. But the thing is to seek him.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you may read the word, you might read something in the Bible 1,000,000 times and you're not understanding it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to encourage you, pray about it. Ask God to give you that understanding. That I know that like with Jimmy, people would call him sometimes and talk to midnight.
Yep.
Asking him, what does this mean? And he loved it.
Yep.
He loved sharing
Yes.
the revelation
Yes.
of God's word to people.
That's right.
So don't think that you don't have that freedom, or don't be intimidated if you don't understand something.
That's right.
Am I saying we know everything? No, I'm not. That, you know, we're going to continue learning until we make our home, and then we're going to learn even more.
That's right.
But if you don't understand something and you're really seeking, pray about it.
Yeah.
Seek God. Ask Him to give you understanding.
Yeah.
And if you're really seeking, call the pastor.
That's right.
Or someone,
Yeah, or
you know.
someone within the church that's further along than you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you feel, you know, there's some people that, you know, may not feel comfortable contacting me, but you might feel comfortable contacting Brother Andy or Mama or Matt or Scott or Susan, or that's okay. Guess what? If nobody don't know, we're gonna confer. It's eventually gonna get to somebody that can give you an answer, or we're gonna be on a mad study quest to get you an answer. That's just how it works, because that's what we're supposed to do. So, moving on. The earth is the reason for the heavens. The earth is the reason for the heavens. So our earth is small in comparison to the heavens, to the numbers of stars and galaxies and heavenly bodies out there, right? Earth is just a little on the map, little blip, nothing big. And, you know, the study of it would be utterly absurd if it were not for the fact that it's the only planet known to be inhabited by human life. All the other galaxies, all the other planets, none of them support life, except little old Earth. Kind of makes her special. So all that out there has an effect on the Earth, and we're going to learn about that. You know, I can remember my daddy shark fishing. You know, Matt's always loving the beach, and I can't stand the beach. I don't like the sand. I don't like when you inhale the salt water. I don't like the beach. It could be because most of my beach references is going out at night shark fishing and getting sand all up everywhere and sitting on the beach when it's cold. You know, you can only get in the water for maybe a good hour. You might get there for daylight and get that much time. I can't stand the beach. I don't like the beach. If you want me to relax, the beach ain't it. I'm just gonna go ahead and give you the heads up. The beach ain't it. That is not my idea of nice. I don't like sand. I don't know. Now I can get out to the goat pen and I can do it. So it ain't a nice nasty issue. I just really don't like salt water and I really don't like sand. But there's a point to the shark fishing story. I can remember Daddy having those tide tables, and everything was talking about, well, we're at this phase of the moon, so that means that the tide is going to be affected here. How's the moon affecting the water, you know? It's so wild that all that out there affects everything down here.
It does.
You know, storms and things like that are affected, can be predicted by the location of planets in proximity to Earth. That just right there to me, like, you mean if Venus gets a little rowdy, we could have a hurricane? I mean, all that out there ought to affect us right here on this Earth. I mean, do you realize how significant you are to God? That He would create billions of stars and galaxies just to give you the most perfect place to inhabit. And I say that because, let's be real, we get bored with the same thing over and over, don't we? We get bored with it and we want changes, you know. I've had this for, you know, as a meal plan for the last 5 weeks. I want a different meal plan. So we got to change it up. So God gives us seasons. He gives us, you know, the fall, the spring, the winter, the summer. But not so erratic that we don't have any surety or confidence. No, He puts it on a schedule so that we have that safety and that security. within it all. Yes, we do have moments, especially in South Georgia, where we get all of winter in one weekend. That's not fun. Or in one day, yes. Sometimes we experience all the seasons in one day. What season we on? What time is it? But he gives us just enough of change and diversity, but the safety of the schedule. All these things that affect us. And we're going to get into some of these stuff here. Whew. So the first chapter of Genesis reveals that the earth holds a place in the plan and purpose of God that amazes one. So Genesis 1, 14 through 19. Here we go.
Then God said, let there be light in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons
Yes.
and for days and years.
Wow.
And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heavens to give light on the earth. And it was so. You know, it's funny right here. Let me stop, because he just said, let there be light. There was light.
Yeah.
He didn't say nothing about the sun.
Nope, that
Nothing.
comes along on
That-
day 4.
Yeah,
You
that's
get a,
right.
You get a sun and a moon on day 4.
Yeah, so just pointing that out.
Yeah.
That's what's. Then God made 2 great lights. Then God made 2 great lights.
That's right.
The greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made stars also. God set them in the firmament of the heavens to give light
Yeah.
on the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. So the evening and the morning were the 4th day.
So, but in this verse, you got a twofold meaning. So the light and the darkness dividing, and it's for signs and seasons. Yes, the stars and the phases of the moon and the position where we are from the sun, it is for signs and seasons and times in the natural. But as you just pointed out, we didn't have a sun and a moon and stars yet. The light is still for signs and for the signs and the seasons. The time we are on God's calendar is revealed through the light of His Word.
Yes.
That's a whole different set of circumstances to find out where we are on a timeline that existed before we did.
Well, there, in the light and the dark, where we talk about being in the dark, which is without God,
Yep.
but then stepping into the light, which He is, you know,
God
the-
is light.
He is light. He is the illumination. He is the, you know, well,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's good.
Yeah,
Wow. So science does not deny the fact that there is not a planet, sun, moon, or star in all the vast universe that does not have its influence upon our Earth. They all affect us one way or another. And if a moon or a sun, however distance away, can affect an entire planet, think about the things in your life that affect you, spiritually speaking. That's just a little extra bonus tip. Y'all can chew on that when y'all get a minute. Our sun is approximately 93 million miles away. Yet it causes climatic conditions of heat, light, rain, and wind, which make the planet capable of sustaining human, animal, and vegetable life.
As a matter of fact, the light that you see coming from the sun takes 6 seconds to reach us. I believe, if I remember correct, or 6 minutes.
6 minutes.
6 minutes, excuse me.
And you know, I was thinking, I heard, you know, this is funny, but you know, right now with the administration that is in office,
Don't get our video taken down, Deborah.
no, but you hear all of this about climate change and climate control. And I heard a man of God, and he was laughing, and he said, for man to really have an ego that thinks that he can
Yeah.
change the climate.
Yeah.
And he was just laughing. And it's true. I mean, it's really
You know,
funny when you think about it that you have the audacity to really believe that you can change
Yeah.
yeah.
the
Well-
climate.
You think about
Well,
the science. I mean, let's even you science.
you want to jump down that rabbit hole?
You know, up in Greenland, Iceland, used to be tropical vegetation. They found, you know, the fossils in the rocks and things like that. So it was very, very warm, you might as well say,
Yeah.
in these cold areas. Now, like you said, we're gonna be arrogant enough to think that what we do
Yeah.
is warming this
Well-
earth and think, well, what happened then when, well, there wasn't no cars and emissions to warm the earth, and yet our earth was
A little tropical, a little more tropical.
little more tropical. Come on. I mean,
Well, you know, if you want to jump down that rabbit trail, which I love to do, and this is going to be the last thing that we have time for, we read in Genesis about the great flood that destroyed all the life on earth. What happens after it rains? Does it get cold? So you take a global flood that like covers mountains, people. That much water. What's going to happen in the atmosphere? We're going to have an ice age. I mean, this is scientific reasoning. They say after the ice age, that's when the land masses split up, which would be Pangea theory. But anyway, could it be possible that we're still thawing out from that and getting back to what it was from the beginning? Just an idea. I mean, you know, seems reasonable to me, but you know, to each his own there. But we are out of time for today. So we will continue down this rabbit trail even further next Saturday. We'll be in service Monday night, Wednesday night, 7 p.m. I think we might be starting a book Monday night. I don't know. It depends. All right. I love you. God loves you. There ain't a thing you can do about it. I will see y'all.